Good day, guys! For today's video, we are going to talk about the teaching innovative ideas and movement education. So, by the way, I'm Jean Villagas. So now I'm here with my group mates, Carlo Lagumbay, Vicente Claros, Lovely Pearl Abatay, Frederick Cyclone Piñaranda, and Keith of Piaman. So in further understanding about the packet charts and the word walls, here is Carlo Lagumbay to be the first one to discuss about it.
Pocket chart, cards, and word walls. These two tools help to reinforce cognitive content of almost any subject matter. Literacy, like letters, words, sentences, mathematics, numbers, shapes, and basic functions. Or science, like animals, weather, or plants. Elementary classroom teachers also use pocket charts for practical things such as class organization, like the task assignments, calendar, and birthdays. Although many poster sets for physical education focus on the motivational aspects of movement, word wall poster sets are a colorful way to deliver movement content to students right on the gym wall. Later in this chapter are descriptions of pocket chart card activities that you can use to teach movement education. Chapters 7, 8, and 9 offer much more detailed descriptions of specific activities for each of the four movement concepts. Many elementary classroom teachers use this versatile tool to reinforce vocabulary words, to assess children with spelling words, and to emphasize words from the stories being read in the class. Figure 5.1 shows a pocket chart with movement education cards placed in the pockets for a lesson. The use of pocket charts and cards in physical education, while a rather new idea, is logical and natural. This is a real benefit since elementary classroom teachers are often responsible for fulfilling mandated physical education minutes. So who can use pocket charts or cards and movement word walls? So pocket cards and words walls are effective tools for professionals who develop literacy in the content area of physical education and numerous settings, including K-12 physical education teachers, elementary classroom teachers, pre-service teachers, and university teacher educators. These approaches allow teachers of physical education and classroom teachers to apply not only physical education terminology and both movement and cognitive formats, but also content from the other curricular areas. For example, are language arts, math, science, music, and art. Pocket chart, card, and word wall activities. So you may want to do one or some of these activities as part of a lesson introduction or to begin a new activities and ideas in a lesson. Also, you can use these activities when recovery, rest, or settling down are needed during class in either the gym or the classroom. The pocket chart and the movement cards can be used as review or as an assessment of the previous lesson.
So, identification of movement concepts. Introduce the Movement Education Framework, or MEF, is one of your first lessons using a pocket chart card deck. So it is helpful to organize the material into a few big chunks that children can remember. So number 1. To begin, place the movements concepts card at the top center of the first pocket in the chart. Second, explain to the children that they are going to be learning about 4 big ways in which the body moves. Third, Tell the children that there are 4 words that are called movement concepts and that every way people move fits into one of these concepts. Number 4. Now place each of the 4 movement concepts on a separate line of the pocket chart. 5th, you might engage the children even more by inviting a child to go up to the pocket chart and flip over the first card to reveal the definition. So, after you have introduced the MEF and the 4 concepts, challenge the children to remember them. You can place the 4 movement concepts cards among 10 or so other cards from the deck, randomly within a circle of the floor face up. You can make this memory task more challenging by not telling the children the number of cards they should find. So, whereas a pocket chart stays in the one location called markers, which slotted tops can be put in a variety of places throughout the learning space, thus card can provide directions about what movements to perform or how to perform it, or serve as visual reminders of the cognitive concepts on which students are working. Although pocket chart cards work well with cones larger or inches in elementary task cards by bonus footwear. So also fit nicely into slotted cone tops, making for visually exciting station. Another commercially available tools include locomotor, direction, and animal cone cups. And that will be all. Thank you. Progression of movements concepts. You can also use the movement education tree as an early movement education lesson. So number 1 or first is ask a children to pick up the body concepts card and place it in a pocket in the lower center of the pocket chart. Second, direct another children to pick up the space concepts card and place it in the pocket directly above the word body. Third, select a different child to pick up the effort card and place it in the pocket chart directly above the space card. Fourth, finally, pick one last child to place the relationships card above the effort card on a pocket chart. Again, have a child write the word relationships on the right and the left side roots that occurred to the surface of the ground. Fifth, a completed worksheet might look something like a completed movement education 3 worksheet. Sixth, ask the children questions about their drawings and help them notice that it was harder to come up with a picture for the last 2 concepts. Once all 4 concepts have been pointed out on the word wall, children can draw the item on their worksheets at the same way and they did for the pocket chart cards. So another topic could be the rainy day activities. So physical education teachers are always looking for things to do in rainy days. The pocket chart card deck can be used for its purpose. For example, children can use the pocket chart cards to create their own ways or own games with or without the pocket chart in small group in a hallway or at their desks. Another is integrating game codes into instruction. So pocket chart cards also work really well when placed in cam sleeves or cones with a slotted top to hold the signs or posters and cards.
Movement Learning Centers. So what is Movement Learning Centers? Essentially, a learning center is a physical space with items that enhance the opportunity to learn a particular subject or a concept. Although the use of learning centers is common practice in the classroom, it is not as popular in the gymnasium. Classroom Learning Center, materials and method. So what is that? Okay, pocket charts and cards as well as word walls can be used in many ways to support the content of movement education. Classroom teachers can immediately integrate movements, concept cards into ongoing activities in literacy learning centers. A learning centers for physical education within the classroom can give really active or kinesthetic learners or strong sense of relief and belonging. Gymnasium Learning Centers. So what is Gymnasium Learning Centers? So you can have a physical activity learning center that is available at all times rather than having one that you have to set up and take down. And the first step is to identify a space for an apartment for a physical education learning center that it is involving the children and even the classroom teachers in creating, defining and managing the space will to contribute their investment in learning, and that will make place there. Movement education lessons. So what is movement education lessons? So lots of new products are available in the movement park marketplace, and many gymnasium standbys have been modernized. So we provide a few suggestions, including specialized musics like CDs that can help with time issues and organizing movement activities like stations to station. Movement like beach ball, a variety of parachutes, soft floor discs, and pedometers. Specialized live music, interval movements, CDs. So what is that? It is great motivations and management tools for movement education activities are found in the station. The stations to station CDs could be used to expand children's movements repertoire rather than focusing on right and wrong ways of moving. Movement, beach balls, and parachutes. So writing selected movements terms with permanent or washable marker on beach balls or purchasing specific movements. Education beach ball is another fun way to provide manipulative to reinforce cognitive learning.
Hi guys, I'm back. So let us talk about the integrating subject matter into movement. So as an important part of the teaching staff, the physical educator should understand basic ideas of other content areas. Example is reading, writing, music, math, and science. So likewise, the classroom teachers should be a basic movement educator, as should other specialties teachers. Although it isn't practical to expect classroom teachers to function at the level of physical education specialists, it is reasonable to expect them to know and be able to teach the content from the flip and fold. Using all the flip and fold movement elements or just a limited selection from the critical elements, the physical educator and elementary classroom teacher can work together. So that is the integrating subject matter into movement. Next is we will talk about the combining literacy with movement. So the activity presented here may be more appropriate for younger children. Begin by choosing movement words presented during classroom activities, maybe as spelling or vocabulary words. Example is low level, forward direction, and self-space. Body shapes of narrow, stretch, and curl. Then place these words in the gymnasium. Then pocket chart and ask the students to draw what a child doing these movements would look alike. So the drawing activity can be done before, after, or both before and after students physically perform the movements. The drawings may significantly change one student have experienced the movements. Drawings are a helpful form of assessment and can facilitate parents and guardians' understanding of the movement education program. Another creative enough approach to combining movement and traditional subject is to apply learning the letters of the alphabet to a movement lesson. Certainly, this is one of the basic tenets of this approach. A creative lesson by Joannie Killam to North Carolina serves as the basis for this example. So in this lesson, the lesson is divided into 4 lessons. First is letters A to H. Second is letters I to Q. Third is letters R to Z. And 4 is alphabet soup, a review of any stations. So large classes can be divided into working groups. Killam applied task to each letter. So to further apply this activity to movement education, we added a movement application in the last column. In addition to setting up directions for each stations, you might want to post the movement framework, elements, and directions as well. For children who are not yet reading well, or those whose first language is not English, use the Kini Kids pictures using pocket chart cards or add symbols to the chart. The movement elements example provided in table 2.1 are options from which you may choose to do an activity with your class. It is not vital that all MEF elements, example the flip and fold, be included for each portion of this lesson. So rather, choosing particular elements for each lesson will focus of the lessons. So another fun way of or to combine literacy with movement is to include matching activities at the close movement lesson. So number 1, you or you students place each of the movement concept terms on the top left of the packet chart, followed by each of the definitions to the right, not in the correct order. Second is students then match the definitions of the correct words. Body, what is the body? What the body is doing. Or B, space. Next is space, where the movement takes place. Effort, how the body is performing the movement. And lastly is the relationships. Connections with whom or with the body is moving. And third is the students, for students operating at lower developmental stage or students whose first language is not English, you can read the word and definition or ask them to work together. You may also point to the terms of on the movement word wall, hold up definitions cards, and ask students to match the appropriate definition to the word on the word wall. Fourth is give each child a card or from a list that you have created. From the group of cards you have created, and ask them to perform the movement. As children perform the movements, see if they can identify elements that would be classified within each category. So, for example, you might have children performing bound, free, hard, and soft movements. So, the correct match would be bound and free because they are both types of flow. And hard and soft should be matched because they are both types of force. You can design your matches any way you like to highlight movement concepts that you want your students to learn or create a discussion rather than seeking correct answers. So fifth is photo matching is another fun activity. Show pictures of children who are doing the movement elements being covered that day. So you can take pictures of conferences or in service workshops, if legally appropriate, of students demonstrating movement elements and enlarge them also students can easily see them. Ask the students to identify what is being done in the photo. You can call students individually or ask group to respond. Ask the students why they choose their responses. This will help you identify areas of strength or weakness in prior learning. So, next is writing or drawing in response to movement education lessons. So, having children write about how they felt during a movement or movement lesson enhances not only the movement aspect but also their writing skills. For example, following a lesson on moving at various levels through all the general space, children may write that they felt free while doing it. Younger children may add that they felt as though they were moving, like particular animals that move at those levels. As in the drawing examples in figure 5.8, children may choose to illustrate the writing with movements pictures. Next is movement phrases. So, movement phrases, which you might also think of as movement sentences or sequences, as they are all very similar. And movement stories can also be used to link literacy with movement. So, number one, select movement elements from one or more of the four concept areas and have students create phrases as they do in the classroom. Second, each phrase should have a beginning, middle, and ending, much like sentence. Third, this activity may begin as a teacher-directed activity and then progress to a student-directed activity. And lastly, as shown in figure 5.9 on page 94, you can distribute extra sets of pocket charts cards and ask the children to make movement phrases. As noted earlier, emphasize that movement phrases are just like phrases created in the classroom. Each has a beginning, middle, and ending. So there are examples on how you can ask students to create movement phrases. First is show me a movement phrase that starts a high level and then travels in a different directions and finishes at the low level. You would place the following in the pocket chart. Start at the high level, travel in different directions, finish at low level. You may also be more descriptive by specifying directions. Next is shapes can also be part of a movement phrase. Children can start their phrase or sentence with a beginning shape, travel in a direction or pathway at a level, and then finish with an ending shape. Next is sentence or phrases can also be student directed. Ask students either the individual or in pair or in small groups. To select a minimum of 3 words from one or more categories within the space movement concept to form a movement phrase. So for example, general space, forward, and low level. So they then place this in the pocket chart. Also, students then demonstrate their understanding of this movement phrase by creating sequence of movements that demonstrate this phrase. Next is, if you are using word wall, you can also have set of pocket chart cards, creating pockets, cards of particular elements such as step-like actions, spring-like actions, body shapes, pathways, levels, or directions. Might be a great way to help younger students choose cards to create movement sequences. Students may choose a way to travel, a body shape, and another way to travel to create their movement sequences. So here is the figure 5.8. This is an example of a drawing by a child in response to movement lesson. So that's all for me.
So movement story, poem, or rhyme. Having students create movement stories is an additional way to incorporate literacy with movement, and it's fun. So once you have presented the idea of movement phrases, you can move on to movement stories. Ensuring that movement is a major theme of the story is essential. And movement stories should first be done in a teacher-directed manner within concepts or between concepts. Students will begin to make association with movement stories has definite beginning, middle, and ending. To write movement stories, students identify and demonstrate movement elements found in nursery rhymes, poems, or stories in the read in class. Having students select and place pocket chart cards in response to hearing a poems is a great activity for either the physical education class or a regular classroom. You can modify this activity for children at various development stages by reading shorter or longer poems to them. It can also be done in a student-directed perspective, which the students can work with a small group and which they can create their own movement stories. And older students operate higher development stage can write their movement stories, while younger students can talk about their stories or draw pictures of some of the actions or movements. In each group identifies movements in their story and practice them in sequential order. So let's proceed to the movement flow map. A movement flow map focuses on movement concept combination and helps students work on sequencing order at a movement story. The following list may assist you in teaching children how to create their own unique movement flow maps. Remember to encourage originality and creativity over correctness. So first in the list is that make a written list of all the movement elements in the story. And we encourage children to use the flip and fold during the stage of analysis. So the second in the list is put all of the movement elements in the order in which they appear in the story, from first to last. So the third in the list, represent each of the movement elements with a picture. This can be a single geometric shape, like for example, square, circle, and triangle. So the last one is students should be able to recreate the story as a movement performance using the movement flow map they created.
my topic is all about creating a movement of a flow map. So, as I analyze the story, so many examples of movement flow map comes into my mind, not just for a baby bird story, but also for us humans too. Like us, we have our comfort zone. So, how can we go to our magic happens if we are not going out to our comfort zone? So, for example, the story of a baby bird. So, if you are a baby bird standing on the ground in your own space, now move as if you were just starting to fly. Gradually, you grow until you are full-grown bird and fly at different speeds. Now you are flying very high in the air, way above the clouds. So that was the story behind. So what is comfort zone? So a comfort zone is a self-imposed boundary where a person will refuse to push past. Doing so often fills him or her with nervousness and anxiety. So like us, we have a life begins at the end of your comfort zone. So we have here a 4 stages. So first we have the comfort zone. Second, we have a fear zone. Third, we have the learning zone, and the fourth is growth zone. So in comfort zone, we have here a feel safe and in control. While in fear zone, we have here a affected by others' opinion, find excuses and lack self-confidence. While in learning zone, we have a deal with challenges and problems and acquire new skills. While in growth zone, we have here a find purpose, live dreams, and set new goals. So how can we go out to our comfort zone? So simple, we have only when you stop letting fears and anxiety hold you back. Will you start to make those major breakthroughs in life? Unfortunately, many people have problems with getting out of their comfort zones. They want to do more in life, but they're afraid to challenge themselves and push the envelope on what they think is safe. So you have to expand in your comfort zone. So you should keep expanding your comfort zone. So never stop expanding your comfort zone even if you arrive at your state goals. It's important to keep pushing those boundaries. So